Hi everybody, and thank you for joining us for our final happy hour of the running season. Here's to you guys, and thank you for running the virtual race with us. We have really enjoyed seeing your stories and getting your times in, and here we are, answering your final questions for the 2020 Hamptons Marathon, of which there are a few.
Yep, thanks for sending in questions, everyone. So the first one we got is, what's the best way to maintain your body long term, whether preparing for a race or just keeping up running throughout the year? I think we could both answer this pretty well since we are, I've had several injuries, and so I've learned from the experience of running, pushing myself too hard. I would say the best way is to cross train. So when I've run 5 marathons, and towards the end of preparing for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, I actually ran less and cross-trained a lot and did weights and did yoga. I think giving your body and 1 day of rest.
Have to take a day off each week.
That day should be sacrosanct. And you can kind of play with your week, and you don't have to do the long runs on the day the long runs are scheduled, but just make sure you get in the cross training, make sure you get in the long runs, some speed work, and strength work, which runners tend to overlook because you just want to get the mileage.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah.
Next one is not a question, it's just a statement, but we'll read it anyway. You two are amazing. Thanks. Great job pivoting and keeping the Hamptons races going. I'm so glad I get to run it this year, and we are glad you get to run it too. So that wasn't really a question. Okay, so what makes the Hamptons Marathon different from other New York area running events?
Us.
It would probably be us. I mean, one of the things that you get when you run our races, you get a lot of contact with us. You guys all see us on race day. If you happen to be in the Hamptons during the summer, you can see us on weekends at the training runs that we do. And I think that's probably, our personal touch is probably what makes our race different than most of the other races out there.
Yeah, we are lucky because we are a smaller race, so we it's really just the two of us, and we can give that personal attention to our runners and really try to answer every email and address every issue personally. So it's, yeah. Okay, let's see. As runners, what inspires you both to lace up and run even when you don't feel like training?
Dessert at the end of the day?
Wine at the end of the afternoon? I would say, actually, I know how good I'll feel when I finish.
Yeah.
And I just push myself to do a little faster run than I normally do because my pace is just kind of getting slower and slower. And I knew exactly how I was going to feel when I finished, and that's what got me through it.
Endorphins, baby.
Yep.
What are your top destination running events that you've yet to experience? We actually both decided that we want to run the Bordeaux Marathon because, wine and all that.
It used to be I was always, run fast, don't stop, don't look, my family's on First Avenue in the New York City Marathon. I ran by them waving. And now I think it's enjoy the scenery, enjoy the people.
Make the most of the experience.
Yeah.
This really should be an experience.
And I actually had a really cool experience.
Yeah.
I ran the Hamptons for the first time this year.
Oh, did you do it?
I did. Well, I ran the 5K.
Right.
I'll be honest. I wish I could have run the half, but I wasn't trained for it. But because we are running the race, we've never been able to run the race.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a little gift when we went virtual to be able to do it myself and earn a medal.
Hey, I want a medal. I better get out there quickly. Do you want to do as
Sure.
race directors? Yeah.
Yeah. If you could go back in time and do something differently as race directors, what would you do? That's kind of a tough one, actually, because we knew when we were starting this out that we didn't know what we didn't know. And we knew that there was a pretty wide field of unknowns for us. And so we, at the time, hired a professional timer who was at the top of his game and really helped us to learn the ins and outs of race directing. So what would we do differently? I think I would like a do-over on some of our swag.
I would agree with that, especially the really bright orange.
Oh, the bright orange, yeah.
Really
I
bad.
love orange, but yeah,
That was a bad shirt.
It was bad.
I made a bad first medal, but if you listen to I think that was probably in our first video that we did. We talked about that bad first medal.
Yeah.
That we would
Yeah.
have to redo too.
Yeah.
For sure. What advice would you give to someone aspiring to start their own race? Don't. That's our advice.
Yeah, don't do it. Actually, people call us not infrequently about maybe starting a turkey trot
Right.
and I think, well, most people are trying to do it as a for-profit venture, and it doesn't make a whole lot of profit. So that's a non-starter. And it's just hard. There's a lot to deal with in getting permits, and the startup for it is pretty expensive and time-consuming, and
Yeah, it's kind of a steep ramp up in terms of the permits, the police, the getting your community on board. You're never going to make everybody happy. So, I mean, even as a nonprofit, it's a tough thing to do. So, if you're thinking about starting a race, don't. That's my advice.
yeah, don't. What's your personal favorite running accomplishment?
New York City Marathon for me, twice.
For me, it was actually not running it, but knowing when I was training for the New York City Marathon that I could actually, if everything went well, qualify for Boston. And I remember standing in my driveway and clicking my watch off and realizing how fast I'd run 18, which wasn't that fast, but I was 45. And realizing that it was attainable, and then qualifying for Boston and running it after the New York City.
The other really fun thing that nobody knows is that when Diane was turning a certain age and I was training, we were training actually for, I think it was my second New York City, she asked me if I would climb Mount Whitney with her, which, if you don't know, it is the highest mountain in the continental U.S., so lower 48 states. And because I was training so well for the marathon, it made training for climbing Mount Whitney, which is a 22-mile round trip, a lot easier, and it was a lot of fun. So that's actually one of my favorite accomplishments.
Yeah.
That was a good one. The next question is, what's your favorite section of the Hamptons Marathon route? I think we both agree Cooper's Beach and Gin Lane is probably the best part. No, sorry, that's my dog if you hear him bark. Don't bark.
Yeah, Cooper's Beach, suddenly you go up a tiny little ramp in the parking lot and you have this beautiful ocean view, and it really makes the Hamptons special.
Yeah.
We were lucky to be able to map the course so that we could include that.
Yep, for sure.
What's the key to staying locked in when setting up and working all day at the expo? When we were first reading these questions, Amanda said,
Coffee.
and the expectation of a margarita at the end of the afternoon. But as I started thinking about it, I totally agree with that. We're fully caffeinated when we're locked in, but it's also putting yourself in the position of the runners and knowing that for them, for a lot of people, it's their first time, or they're trying for a PR and trying to see how to make it the best possible experience for them. So even when things are chaotic, we try to remember that personal connection with each of the runners, because for them this is a pretty big deal.
Which we totally get, having been there.
Yep.
Are there any parts of race weekend that are impossible to prepare for, regardless of how much planning you do? Well, the weather. I mean, you can prepare for the weather, and you can plan for it, but you just never know what it's going to be until you wake up that morning, or in our case, the morning before, and see, what you have. We've had a couple of races where we thought that they'd go a lot worse than they did because the weather was not as bad as it was. We've had a few where it was a lot warmer than it was expected to be, and we ran out of water, and we were running all over trying to get every bottle of water in the town of Southampton. So I would say that that's probably the only thing you really can't prepare for.
Yeah. We seem to have the luck that virtually every load-in day, so the Friday before the marathon, it pours. Pours. And it used to be, when we started this out, that we would spend the whole night loading in, and because we would do packet pickup at a different venue, we learned as the years went by to streamline. But we'd be drenched and then maybe getting an hour of sleep in our cars or on the gym floor. So yeah,
It's fun. That's why I said don't start your own race. Swag.
Swag.
Go for it.
Sure. Aside from the course, swag is the favorite part of the event. So how do we get the inspiration for our shirts and medals each year? And what kind of strategy do we use for brainstorming? We have been attending the Running USA conference for years, and we usually go in February and see the newest, buzziest things that are appearing at races, and we get inspiration that way. So we found, our coffee tumblers and these really cute silicone shot glasses, and just really interesting stuff. And we've used the same vendor for years, so I tend to walk around the Running USA Expo with her, and we kind of get ideas, and then she helps us design the shirts.
And we met, actually, the guy who designs our medals. We met him at the first
Yeah.
or second Running USA Expo, and we've been working with him now for 14 years. So,
Yeah.
and he's great. So there's a lot of brainstorming that goes on between us and him, because he sees it all as well.
Yeah.
And he can give us his thoughts. So
And then a little reality is, if we're having a really cold winter, we're kind of inspired to do a beanie.
Right.
And if we had a really warm summer after Bridgehampton, we get inspired to do towels or flip-flops or beach bags.
yep,
Yeah, we have fun with it though.
we do. It's probably the most fun part, actually. What did we miss most about the in-person race this year that we're looking forward to in 2021? Oh, obviously it's runners. We haven't seen anybody. It's been a long time. Although I see people I know running on the streets here. But
Yeah.
Obviously it's the vibe, and it's exciting, and it's fun, as exhausting as it is. And it was really a bummer not to be able to do either race really this year. So
Yeah.
I think that's what we miss.
We're looking forward to 2021 and seeing everybody and having packet pickup and putting medals around your necks when you cross the finish line.
And along those lines, keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Because there should be some news coming soon about when we're going to be opening for 2021.
Yeah.
So you can come join us. We hope to see you all then.
And thank you, everyone, because we know you have choices on where to run, and we are grateful that you ran with us.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, cheers.
Oh, yes. Cheers. Here's to 2021.
Yes.